name's Jamie Lee, and today I'll be doing a review of the movie Red, White and Royal Blue, which is the latest LGBT rom-com to hit Prime Video. I'm going to be upfront here and say that I haven't watched a lot of LGBT movies. To be fair, you could probably argue that I haven't watched a lot of movies in general because I like to stick to TV shows, but even TV show wise, there's not a lot where I've watched that the two main cast are LGBT or where a queer relationship is explored. The only one that I think I've really watched is Young Royals. So if I'm overhyping this movie and talking it up to be really great and you're like, this is nothing, there's others out there, I'm sure there might be, I just haven't watched them. So I'm sorry if I'm overhyping it, but I really enjoyed this movie. They set the scene really early on by introducing us to Alex Claremont-Diaz, played by Taylor Zakhar Perez, who has this hateful grudge on Britain's heir to the throne, Prince Henry, played by Nicholas Galitzine. There is some very obvious tension between the two, and all of that comes to a blow when Alex attends Prince Henry's older brother's wedding, and they get into an argument, and Prince Henry shoves Alex into the wedding cake, which causes it to fall on top of them, so they both end up on the floor covered in cake, which to be fair isn't really a bad place to be. But this scandal rocks international headlines because of course you've got this royal prince who gets into an argument with the first son of America, and they both end up on the floor with cake after an argument, so of course it's going to attract attention, and it's attention like that that would hinder Alex's mum's campaign to rerun for presidency. So she puts Alex on damage control to go to London to repair what he's broken, I guess you could say. It's there that he has to put on this front for the media, work with Henry and pretend like they're best buddies, that this argument, this cake incident was just a misunderstanding that the media and reporters blew up in order to get clickbait and to get views. And it's here that that typical romance trope of enemies to friends and then friends to lovers really comes into full swing. When we get past the silly, fun but immature enemy stage of that trope, we dive into their relationship and what a relationship it turns out to be. The dialogue, their conversations, they were very honest, very mature, and they felt very genuine coming across on screen. The plot went from being playful and experiencing puppy love to addressing the struggles of being biracial in politics, upholding an image to the public as being a royal, explores the differences in coming out as LGBT, it discusses privacy, and even touches on the possibility of having a female US president. I feel like the themes that were addressed in the movie got really deep, sometimes literally. That's a terrible joke and very immature, but what was not immature was the writing of the script. I thought it was really well written and it was portrayed beautifully on screen. It is rated R because there are definitely some hot and steamy moments in this movie, but I want to go back to bringing up how mature it was written and how mature it was directed, specifically with a sex scene in this, one of the main sex scenes. They were both inexperienced. There was no dialogue to tell us that, but just the way that we saw them being passionate, being intimate, and showing their first time together, it was really beautiful to watch. It was like they gave us enough sex without it feeling like, oh my god, am I going to watch a porno right now? Like, they gave us just enough to feel the passion and feel the intimacy that they were experiencing in that time. I've watched both of these actors in different projects before. Taylor was obviously in The Kissing Booth 2 and 3, and I watched Nicholas in Purple Hearts, which I hated, and I know he's in Cinderella, but I haven't actually watched that one yet. But anyway, my point is they're really good actors, but in this, their chemistry was through the roof. They were absolutely incredible together. I said earlier before that it was really fun to watch the banter between the two, and it really was. They were just bantering between each other and it was playful and it was fun. But then we got to those really intimate scenes and those passionate scenes that I was talking about, where they really deep dive into their feelings and how they feel about all those topics that I just mentioned before, let alone their romance together. And those scenes were, I can't explain to you the chemistry. Like, you felt like they were in love with each other. And I feel like even if they were given a poor script, they still could have made it work. They just were bouncing off each other chemistry wise. Oh my God, I got to stop with these terrible jokes. Anyway, sorry about that. So they had a lot of good chemistry is what I was getting at there. And I really felt like not only were they fun and playful, but that they were also really intimate and in love with each other and in tune with their feelings together, if that makes sense. As much as I really loved their relationship together, I also loved the family dynamic in this. Alex's family, the president, was played by Uma Thurman. And there was a really beautiful scene there where he was coming out to her and he told her that he is into a guy. And she picked up the phone and he thought, oh, something political, she's going to call someone to deal with this. And she ordered pizza for them. And then to see them sitting on the couch together there and him expressing his feelings and her being just so open and welcoming to him and his thoughts and his feelings was such a beautiful moment. I am not LGBT, so I have no experience with coming out or living in fear of not being who I am or expressing who I love or who I want to be or who I want to love. So I have no experience with any of that, but I would hope that this movie, that scene specifically, is very encouraging, inspiring, or just a beautiful thing to watch for those who are LGBT and who want to see a beautiful moment of somebody coming out to their family. As much as I love the family dynamics and how much they supported Alex, and I did love Uma Thurman, honestly, I would have recast her because she was supposed to put on this Texas accent and it really did sound terrible. It was very off-putting. I liked seeing her on screen and I wanted to see her comfort her son, but at the same time I was like, please just don't talk, like just comfort him, because it was really off-putting to me. I also really enjoyed Sarah Shahi in this. She was the president's deputy chief of staff. I've watched her in Sex Life before, but in this I really liked her character. She was very witty, she was very stressed, she was very quick off the mark and everything was go, go, go with her. And that's exactly how I would picture somebody who was the deputy chief of staff of the president. So I thought she played that role really well in this movie. I also really liked how creative they were with showing their relationship on screen. Obviously, we saw some emails and some text come up on the screen that we could read and obviously hear what they were saying as well. But even there were moments where they were lying on the bed together. Clearly they weren't together because one was in England and one's in America, but they were both lying on the bed and they were having these discussions and it just looked like they were together and interacting with each other. When at the end of that conversation, you would see the split screen and they would pan across the bed and obviously the bed would be empty and you knew that they were just talking on the phone together. But it was really nice to see them interacting together, even though technically they weren't interacting together in real life. It was only on screen for us to visually see that. But I thought that was really creative. There were other moments too where they were having conversations on the couch, and then when the conversation would end, one of them would fade out of the picture. So it was sort of like he was dreaming that he was there when they were interacting on the phone, but they weren't technically in the same room together, but they were on the screen. So again, I thought they were really creative ways to show their relationship developing visually as well as just us hearing it or reading it on the screen. And there was my favorite scene of the movie. They're at a nightclub and everybody's dancing and the music drops low. I think the actual song that was played was Even Get Low, so that's quite funny. Anyway, everybody got low. The music slowed down. Everything went into slow-mo. The music faded out and it was just the two of them staring at each other passionately and intensely. And there was just this moment of nothingness. They were just looking at each other and it was all slow-mo and it was gorgeous. And that was my favorite shot of the whole thing. And then the music pumps back up and everybody gets up and it gets going again. But yeah, it's just such a beautiful shot. And I really liked how this movie was filmed. The negative criticisms that I have is to do with the pacing. I feel like a lot more of this movie could have been explored. Little bits were touched on, and I really think if it was more like a series, I know there's a lot of LGBT series out there with Heartstopper, Love Victor, I think was the other one, Love Simon, something like that. What other one was there? Young Royals, as I said, I'd watched before. You know, there's quite a lot when it comes to shows, but I really think this would have benefited as a show because you could have tackled a lot more of them things that were just tiny. You know, they were addressed, but only a little bit. For example, I really would have liked to have seen in that first interaction as a flashback and saw where that hatred came from. And then we learnt that the chief of staff was getting it on with Henry's security guard or secret service officer. I'm not quite sure what they called him, but they were a thing. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of their interactions and, you know, how all that came about. Then there was the whole subplot with the female president and running for presidency, but also the relationship with the dad, who was also a politician. You know, they didn't really touch too much into their family dynamics other than the fact that they were a very loving and supportive family of Alex, which is great, but I wanted to dive in so much more, and obviously we couldn't do that in a 2-hour movie. But I feel like if that was a series, we would have been able to explore all of that a whole lot more. Another thing, and this is being very petty, but it's kind of important to me because I really like to get a laugh out of movies and shows, but this one wasn't very funny. I didn't laugh a lot, and that's fair enough. Maybe the jokes went over my head because I'm not LGBT, or, you know, maybe it was a cultural thing because clearly I'm Australian, so we don't have, you know, obsess over the British royals. I mean, to be fair, some people here do. The British enthusiasts, I think they call them. My auntie's one, my cousin's one, even though they say they're not. They say they don't know, but they know every bloody royal's name, don't they? Anyway, and, you know, like American politics and stuff like that. Just completely different things. So maybe those jokes went over my head. I'm not too sure, but I didn't laugh a lot. I didn't find it very funny, but where it lacked in comedy, it made up for in romance. So that is a win for me because I haven't been watching very many good romance movies lately, and this is definitely one. I definitely enjoyed watching this one, so I'm happy. I thought it was a lot of fun. Have you watched this movie? Did you think it was charming like I did? Are you gonna watch this movie? Let me know in the comments section. I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, could you please like this video? And if you're not already, please subscribe to my channel, and then head on over to my Instagram and give me a follow over there as well, please. Okay, sweet as. Have a good day. Bye.